Hey! So over the weekend, I went and saw Spy Family Code White. And it was nothing short of something very special. And just like the shit that comes out my ass, it was sweet and wholesome, but there was not a single drop of corn. Nothing that was left behind that you'd be wondering, why is that there? Where did that come from? When did I eat corn? When did I ask for this? It was just a straight shot of you get exactly what you get from Spy Family, and you're happy the whole time. I was not disappointed by a single thing in this movie. So before I start giving it 10 out of 10s or 9 out of 10s or 1 out of 10s, let me just tell you all about it really fast. First of all, let me tell you something about this. I was ski bopping and hopping around about my seat that I thought that I was going to just fall right out. Sauerkraut. I was sitting there with my girlfriend. I looked over and was like, it was so good. So here's how it all starts. Wow. So it starts out, Lloyd's doing his thing. He's just being a super cool spy guy. Wow, well, that's so hot. That's real hot. And he's just doing his thing, being a secret boy, ripping his face off. And you thought he was some guy or some girl, but oh no, it was just Lloyd, just being a cool boy. And then you got Yor whooping ass, slapping ass on everybody, slaying people left and right like the Thorn Princess she is. By the way, she reminds me of Tifa. They're just like sweet and cool and badass all at the same time. Really good. And then you got Anya doing her jazz at school, and she is tasked with this unsurmountable, impossible feat. She has to make a delightful, delicious dessert. And you guessed it, it's all for Estella, fella. Wow. So she goes home, and she tells Lloyd and Yor all about this biz. And Lloyd, you know how he is with his calculating mind. He's like, oh, yes, oh man, I saw that this guy really likes this type of cake. He really likes this dessert. He's really old-fashioned. He likes this. And he's like, oh yeah, I was reading in your school paper that the guy that you're supposed to be cooking this for, it's just like his favorite meal in the entire world. It's his favorite dessert. He reminds him of his childhood. And they're like, oh wow, Lloyd, you're really good. You really know everything. They never question anything. It's so funny in this show. But so they're like, hey, let's go as a family. Let's go to this place where they serve this really good dessert so you can take notes or get the ingredients or anything like that. So she goes, you are cooking this meal for this guy or you're sleeping outside forever with Bond. And they were selling Bond. That's not what happens. But so they do go to this place, and it's like this really just cute, cozy place. And it's snowing everywhere, and you get the magic of them just experiencing this wonderful snowy winter wonderland together. Oh! Is your butt tightening up yet from all the sweetness and the cuteness? Well, it's about to get even worse. So they're there, and it's a family restaurant that only families can go to. And so, perfect, right? Oh, just wow. And I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but they go in, and it's just a very heartwarming, like what you would imagine if you went to Ireland or Switzerland or somewhere like that where there's like just a nice cottage or just this nice homey feeling, small town feeling, where you go in and you just, man, you've been to the place where you've been to it's someone who it's just some family-owned diner, and you just feel the love that has been put into the business. That is what this place is. It's awesome. And then, lo and behold, bad guy shows up, and he says, I'm a real bad baby boy, and I will have what I want, and I'm going to do what I want. And it ends up being a real problem. So, if it actually has to deal with something that Anya does while they're traveling to this particular place. Like I said, I won't go into spoilers, but it's pretty funny what she does. But it ends up being it's the whole catalyst for what happens in this movie. And so they have their run-in with the main villain, all this jazz, and so they decide, let's go out and have fun, yada yada. And Yor's having like her own kind of issue where she thinks that she's maybe not that good of a wife or a good mom, but it's really neat because you saw it happening in season 1 and 2 where she is just hoping that she's a good mom and all these things, and you think, well, why do you want to be such a good mom if you're an assassin and all these things? And so you get those like the heart clenches. It's so good. And Lloyd's just being his cool, sly self and all this jazz, and Anya's just having a blast. Just a hell of a time. How do you not feel good when you're watching this movie? You have no heart or soul. Your heart is an asshole. And Bond's flipping around. So anyway, so they go out, they're having fun, trying to find ingredients to make this dessert. And you have these alone moments with Lloyd and Yor, and it's really special. And some really good family times with just everybody. But for me personally, it was the times, the alone times, and the dialogue with Yor and Lloyd that really made me like on the edge of my seat, not like Attack on Titan, who's gonna frickin' die next. It was an edge on my seat type of thing where I would look over at my girlfriend and be like, oh, and we just go nuts for it, and it's pretty special. And it was neat too because they do this thing where it's only like your speculation, but you'll see like if something happens, whatever, and Anya gets her little twinkly biz happening when she can hear people's thoughts. It doesn't tell you what they're thinking, but it just leaves this like, oh my, geez. But anyway, so big thing happens. Anya gets kidnapped, which was very scary. I mean, that was kind of like a part of the film where you're like, oh my gosh, this is pretty scary. This would be a pretty traumatizing, freaky situation. After, and she gets kidnapped after this kind of altercation happens. It's kind of sad. It hits you right in the balls of feelings. Ow, my balls! I said, and they have to go. Mommy and Poppy, Lloydie and Yori, they go out and they try and save their daughter, and they have this big run in, and just letting you know, like fast forwarding, rewinding, whatever the hell, from what Anya did, it's a pretty big deal. What she did was like war starting, war ending. It was like it's one of those things that you look back on history, if you like know the actual truth of why a war started, all this stuff, it's like, oh man, if people actually knew that the end of these two countries came about like with this one thing, pretty wild. But it's really cool because they go on, they're doing everything they can to save Anya, and it's really cool, really wholesome. There's some really cool fight scenes and all this jazz, which is really cool about this show. I don't know how they're able to mix like a lot of humor. By the way, there's a lot of humor in this movie that you're going to love, especially with Anya. And actually, all three of them, they all have their own special thing, as you know, if you've seen this first two seasons. But they do this cool thing where they make you feel biz, they make you laugh, they have really good action, and you'll get plenty of it at the end of the movie. And it's cool because when everything gets said and done, they're closer as a family. You see this bond between all of them happen, and it's really cool. And I'm gonna burst your bubble a little bit on this one. It is not canon. It almost feels like it's like a side mission or like this fun thing that like the family went and did, but the overall like connection of the family, I feel like really came together in such a really neat way that even though it's an animated show, and I feel like animated shows do a really good job at showing emotion and when you're gonna piss your pants full of happiness, it's so good. They capture this pretty well, and you will love it. Oh my God, you'll love it. Also, I forgot to mention in the beginning, one of the reasons why like Lloyd's pretty like, we gotta go do this. He's given an ultimatum that is actually really important. Sorry I didn't mention this in the beginning, but shit. He's giving an ultimatum on this whole mission, on Operation Strix, to where it's like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to do this anymore? Well, okay, shit, man. Like, well, this is sad. Like, that means the family's going to break apart. This is terrible. So he has, like, his own goals that I think he, like, can't quite admit to himself, which is really interesting. But I won't go into it. If I were to plug this movie in with any kind of rating, if I was saying anime movies, and just movies in general, I'd give this movie a 9 out of 10. I think it was absolutely so fun to watch. I had a blast the entire time, and I was extremely bummed out when it ended. And if you want to see something like that, just don't watch Barney. Don't watch any Disney movie because they all freaking suck anyway. Or don't even go watch Moonfall or the Rebel whatever Rebel Moon. I don't know. It's forgettable, unbelievably forgettable. Go watch Spy Family, Code White. You will love it. If you don't, I don't know. I'm sure you can find some garbage in the dumpster and say, "Oh, Bringo," when you find it. Anyway, have a great night. See you later. Don't wet your bed unless you like to.